think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Welcome to the bonus level.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Bonus Level Podcast. This is level 35. I'm Jack, and I'm joined with, as usual, Josh and Luch and Josh's kids, who are also going to be in this episode. We're going to make this we're going to make this a family episode because we're going to be talking about
anime. We're going to be talking about anime, okay?
And we just lost half of our audience, so thank you. See you later.
It is the lifeblood that sustains you.
Nani? Just get prepared for that for the rest of the evening. So as you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about anime and the dramatic rise to popularity that we've seen in the past few years. Mm-hmm. Along with Dungeons and Dragons, which we had an episode about. Anime is another kind of taboo, nerdy, geekish kind of culture that has been kept kind of, I think Lucci would agree, has been kept kind of not hidden, but like kind of kept closely knit together,
as a community. When I was in middle school, right? If I was back, 10, 12 years ago, oh, dude, I watch anime. They'd be like, Nani?
They'd be like, nerd. He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's like, well, no, I think it wasn't really a nerd thing back then. It was just like you were weird. Like you were just you're a weirdo.
So like then there was so what you're saying is that there's even a subculture. So there's like the geek culture, and then there's like the subculture from that. Yeah, but so like you had the nerds, but then there was like the weird nerds.
But then people never really understood, what anime was. They're sitting there watching Pokemon and stuff when they were kids, and it's like, oh, that's anime, and it's like, Digimon. I don't know if you guys ever watched that on Sundays. Bless its heart.
No, I didn't have cable. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. But yeah, but they'll be like, Pokemon is an anime. I'll be like,
yeah. So I think it's important to start off the discussion with the definition of what anime is, because there's obviously a debate and a conversation that can be had about the scope of anime now, right? Because I like a lot of animation, okay? I like a lot of animated shows. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily like a lot of anime, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The definition of anime being Japanese animation, Japanese-based animation, right? Mm-hmm. That's ultimately at the core of what anime means. Yep. The actual Webster definition of anime is a style of animation originating in Japan that is characterized by stark, colorful graphics depicting vibrant characters in action-filled plots. So very, very outlandish and kind of in your face graphically. Not graphically in like a, not safe for work kind of sense, but graphically in a way of actual graphics, right?
Mm-hmm. But some of them can be NSFW.
Oh, well, I mean, of course, we're not talking about hentai, right? we'll get to that later in the episode. But my question is, in your opinion, do you leave the scope of anime there, or do you kind of let it branch off into other cartoon animation that is a little bit different stylized, right? So do you, Luch, include it in the bundle of anime? Because that is a conversation that, some people kind of go back and forth with.
So kind of rephrase the question, because I'm not really understanding what you're trying to.
So my question is, something like Castlevania. We talked about this last week, right? Castlevania is not Japanese animation. Yeah, it's an animated cartoon. It's
stylized
not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's stylized, but it's still just regular cartoon animation. It's
more inspired. We'll say that way. Inspired.
Yes. So would you consider a show like that in the realm of anime, Kill la Kill, Cowboy Bebop, like that kind of thing?
like if you were like anime in, Japan is just animation. Like that's it. Like there isn't,
Any difference?
yeah, if they see SpongeBob, they're like, "Oh, SpongeBob anime." Right? Like that's it to us. But, here it's like anime is, Japanese cartoons. So I would consider Castlevania an anime.
Okay, so where do you draw the line then?
Again, like I don't think there should be a line.
So you're saying that if somebody watches SpongeBob the cartoon or Avengers, the TV cartoon series or GI Joe, that's still considered the same realm of anime?
Yeah, you can say like you could call like the ones that are obviously Japanese anime. You could just be like that's Japanese anime.
Okay.
Again, like one of the biggest contradicting ones is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I thought
they say that it's not anime.
No, that it wasn't like a Japanese anime, but like it followed all stylized art and vibrant colors, so forth that anime possessed. But it was, I forget where it was made. But yeah, it's to me that's anime too.
Okay.
Like a cartoon to me, I guess a cartoon would have to be along the lines of like, I guess Fred Flintstones.
Why is that not anime?
I guess maybe time period. Maybe I guess it would be
if it was drawn before anime came out. But then logically I don't follow you there, because if you're talking time period, then there's plenty of cartoons today that follow the style of original cartoons like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Disney cartoons that they follow that style today. So are they not anime because they follow that style, or are they now all considered anime because after anime was created in the 60s or coined in the 60s?
Let me put it to you this way. If you were to say, Luch, you watch any good anime lately? I'm not going to think of American or any other country's
correct
animation. I would think of Japanese anime. That's because that's the first thing that comes into mind, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But
because that's by definition.
Those of stylized art, I would consider an anime. Castlevania, Avatar. There was one other. There was that one with Will Smith's kid in there, Jaden Smith. That was on Netflix. That was a doozy.
I don't know that one.
A cartoon?
Yeah, it was a cartoon.
I missed that one.
Yeah, it was like a robot one.
Yeah, I don't know that one. You have to find the name for me. But I don't know. Like, with me, if the same question were asked of me is if something is stylized and just immediately I think, oh, that looks like anime, I'm going to call it that unless someone corrects me. Like I thought that Castlevania, when you recommended it last week, I binge watched the whole thing and it was incredible. I thought it was an anime until you guys just now corrected me on that. And that was mainly from, some of the different, I guess if you were to look at like anime stereotypes with the type of faces, the type of eyeballs they tend to like when they're drawing, they tend to like to make men look a certain way, especially like the more beautiful and handsome men with the very slender face and the longer hair and things like that. I immediately thought that that's what it was. And it's also a lot of the action. That's, one of the biggest things that drew me to anime was first time I saw action fight scene in an anime compared to like the Transformers. It was like, what is this?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So like you were talking about earlier, like Rurouni Kenshin, man, those fight scenes in that anime can be pretty crazy.
All of them. And I don't know if we'll get into that later if Jack has an idea of where he's going with things, but yeah, the intense way that someone can draw something and you feel it and you see it and you're like, holy crap, like that just looks like power. Like if you were to tell someone, hey, draw power, and it's like, well, how do you draw that? Like they figured out how to draw that. Like when they draw something, you're like, oh my God, that looks powerful. Like it's crazy that they're able to put on paper what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine in my head, really. Like it's crazy. Like I love seeing it.
And Josh, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. One thing that Japanese anime has, far over any kind of cartoon would be the way how they're able to depict emotion in the
Yes.
faces of their characters. Like, I mean, I've seen some, fucked up anime in my day, right? Super fucked
I
up.
told you we'll get there later.
But yeah, I mean, like sometimes, like when a character is showing like a face of disgust, like you can just see it, and it kind of makes you cringe a little bit because they kind of hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
Or when they're feeling like terror or fear, like you see it, and it's just like, yeah, I mean,
See, I'm gonna have to play, and what's probably going to be an underlying theme of this episode. I'm gonna have to play devil's advocate here, because if we're talking about time period and like I'm drawing emotion, drawing power, things like that. I mean, I have to go back to the first animation studios, a long time ago, before there was even voice actor, when it was just music and animation, and then leading into the first Disney animation and full length films, like Fantasia with the music, and I mean that was there was malice and anger and delight, joy, music all throughout all of Fantasia. I don't know if either of you have ever seen that, but it's a visual masterpiece, and talk about capturing emotions just through animation in a completely different style, right? So again, I think if you're using that as like a benchmark, I feel like you have to look at all animation across the board.
Yeah.
And ultimately you have to decide, are we including all animation into anime, or are we only talking about Japanese anime and Japanese stylized anime? Because I think we can argue that something like Castlevania, while it is not Japanese anime, it is
stylized,
an anime stylized in that that fashion.
As
right?
far as this discussion goes, I would like to include that and those different type things. But yeah, I mean, I like the different examples of pulling from something like Disney, who is a powerhouse in the cartoon industry, to be able to use that as references and comparisons. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, because think about how many cartoons we've watched in our lives, right? I mean, I've been watching cartoons since I was a little kid. Not just Disney cartoons, but G.I. Joe, Gargoyles, the X-Men,
Gargoyles were dope.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Avengers, the Justice League, all these different cartoons. And then, you get a little older, you have Futurama, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. You have Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So, Death Clock. Or wait, is it Death Clock? Or was Metalocalypse?
Metalocalypse. Yeah.
Metalocalypse. The band, yeah. So, like, some of the, what was the, I'm going to forget his name. Brack. Do you remember Brack?
Oh, from Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Brack
right.
Brack. Dude, I had that CD. The barbecue CD.
With the songs?
Yes, it was incredible. I sing them to my kids all the time.
There's one. Oh man, now I'm trying to think of the one, because I used to sing it all the time. The one. Do you remember some of the names of Brack's songs?
I love you, baby. I love the way that you walk.
That's not the one. There was another one.
Don't touch me. There's so freaking many good ones.
Chives, can we get a list of Brack's songs, please?
Hold on, I have this stuff on speed dial.
Oh my god, I remember there's one that I used to sing all the time. One of his songs.
What day is it? Could you please tell me?
But
anyway, the original creator of Space Ghost.
Who was?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. It's another question for Chives.
Space Ghost isn't DC or Marvel, right?
Space Ghost, Coast to Coast? No.
No. Just the original Space Ghost, not Coast to Coast.
No. Space Ghost is not. I don't think so.
There were 38 different songs on there, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll send it to you. Like great hits like "Don't Send in the Clowns" and "Put Your Socks On, Mama." and
No. Soup
Oh,
on a
Funky
stick.
Baby.
Soup on a stick.
On a stick.
Soup on a stick. That's the song. That is the jam.
Oh, my
I'll gladly put soup on a stick.
Oh my god.
The Brack Show. Anyway, so my point of all that is we have all of these awesome cartoons that don't fall into the category of anime. So
Mhm.
if you were to ask somebody like me, have you watched any anime lately? I would tell you, yeah, I mean, Castlevania, but it's not really. And then I would be like, well, I mean, if you really want like real anime, Cowboy Bebop's my favorite, and I'll watch that a million times over and never get
Mhm.
bored. Other like I've tried to dive into some more. Like I liked because I haven't watched it for a long time. I liked Inuyasha whenever I was a lot younger, so that
Okay.
was another one.
Yeah, so all your anime are like, in that time frame of, the early Toonami days. Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop,
Outlaw
Inuyasha.
Star was a great one.
No, there was another one. Was it Full Metal Alchemist?
Full Metal Alchemist was a little bit later. But yeah,
Was
and then
it?
the Trigun.
There's one other one that I know that I'm missing.
I think Outlaw Star was in there too. You remember
There was
Outlaw Star?
no, I don't remember that one. There was one. It was another guy with a sword. Was kind of like
A guy with
Inuyasha.
a sword in an anime.
Yeah.
What? Can I get a nani?
Was it a big sword or a little sword?
It was a fairly decent sized sword.
What do you do with the sword?
He killed people.
Did it do anything cool? I mean, there was Berserk.
Yeah,
Berserk
Berserk, that was the
one?
giant sword, though. That's why I asked the sword size.
Rave Master.
No. No. I'm gonna find it. Don't worry.
Well, I have to
was,
ask, because we need to go back to the times of Little Jack, because Little Jack didn't have cable.
That's right.
At what age did you get into anime, and what was it that made you get into it? What was the first one you started watching?
Not till actually I went to college, I think. Because my roommate was super into it, all the different ones, and we used to watch Inuyasha at night. He used to put it on the TV, so I would watch that at night, and I ended up
But that was back in the days where you had to super crazy rig up stuff to be able to play things on TV. It wasn't just like you could Chromecast things like you do now.
No.
There
We
were
had
so many
cable.
crazy things you had to
His
do.
parents paid for cable.
Yu Yu Hakusho.
No.
Tenchi Muyo.
Ghost in the Shell was another one that I really liked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original.
Gundams. You guys ever watch the Gundams?
What was that called?
All right. Well, while you are doing some research, Luch, what was
Dragon Ball? Gotta have a Dragon Ball in there.
I'm gonna just be on the unpopular opinion person here. I have never ever liked Dragon Ball. Not any of them. I've never gotten into them. I know at least podcast. I know the names of like some of them.
Oh, Bleach? Are you thinking about, Jack?
No, I saw that. I mean, I watched a little bit of Bleach. Sailor Moon. I watched a little bit of Sailor Moon.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Sailor Moon's a classic.
Yeah.
See, Dragon Ball Z was my jam, but that was like my intro into things. So that's like, the first band that you fell in love with type situation.
Yeah.
But see, like, so, I mean, the reason I asked you about that, and Lucha, I want to ask you the same question, but like how my kind of path went was I was older. I was, a teenager, but I don't know, probably 14, 15, something like that. And, you're used to watching the kind of cartoons that you have on TV. I was born in 85. So like there wasn't the same kind of stuff on cartoons at that age that, kids have now or anything. So it was things like Ninja Turtles or Gargoyles or X-Men, and which were, I mean, I loved all these things, but at the same time, I think that first time that I was actually watching Dragon Ball Z and seeing an anime for the first time and watching Goku do like a Kaioken and power up even stronger and, fight Vegeta and Raditz, like my mind was blown. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I've never seen
Oh
something
my
like
God,
this.
yeah.
Like, I got like super pumped because it was, you know, I mean, we're used to seeing the Ninja Turtles that run at human speed basically through tunnels and can do jump kicks and stuff. And now here's a guy that it was the first time that, like I said, I saw that just that image of pure power
Oh,
being emanated
the
on screen.
teleporting and just, yeah.
It was so cool. Like it was just the fight scenes were incredible. Like, I mean, I'm like every other kid, like martial arts and, you know, fights and stuff like that. It's awesome. So for me, like it just hit all these different right spots, and that's what kind of got me into it. Dragon Ball Z has always been my biggest love as far as anime goes. But once I kind of watched that, I you know, was getting to that age where I was getting a little bit older, and that's where, you know, for me there was almost this gap in things that I was looking for, where I still liked my crazy sci-fi. I still liked martial arts. I liked ninjas. I liked crazy fight scenes. But the only kind of stuff that would have had that would have been cartoons, and the cartoons that we had weren't really doing it because I was older. I was turning 17, 18, 19, 20, and I wanted something a little bit more appropriate for my age. Like, I'm not even saying it had to be like rated R, but just like, I don't want some cutesy little thing. I want something that's rough and tough and, you know, has that feel of more of an adult show. But the only other option was live action stuff because there was no adult cartoons coming out of America, you
Yeah.
know, back in the early 2000s. Like they just, I mean, even what Adult Swim had was mostly comedy type stuff. You know, with the Space Ghost or Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, or even Family Guy and Simpsons. It was all that kind of stuff. It wasn't the real action and dark stuff. So that's when I started finding things like Neon Genesis, finding things like Rurouni Kenshin, and I mean, I can't even remember all the other ones that I was typing out to you guys earlier, but yeah, like I started having a lot of fun with those because they were something completely different from anything that I'd seen before. Especially, I mean, like when I found Cowboy Bebop, like that show, like it's not for kids. Like I don't think that like kids would even almost enjoy it because it kind of has
Yeah, they
that more
don't. Yeah.
serious tone. They
Mhm.
carry a lot of storyline with it, and then even once they do get to the fight scenes, like it's some, you know, it's like a rated R movie. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
not like that they're being gentle with things and there's flowers popping out of people when they get shot in the face. You know, so that's what it kind of filled that void for me because I was, like I said, I was looking one way and I had cartoons that were kid cartoons. I looked the other way, it was like live action crap. I mean, like I say live action crap, but it was like, you know, you had Fast and Furious. Like, think of movies that came out in that time period. That was the time period where I was looking for this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's Fast and Furious, but I want dark. I want brutal. But I also want something more crazy, which just are live action movies that they tried making back in the 2000s. They weren't really able to do that stuff. And anime really like
Yeah.
hit that spot for me for a long
Yeah.
time.
For
And so,
sure.
Rich, with you, what was your intro into things?
So I'm not going to lie, that's a really tough one because I can remember watching anime, God, back when like my little brother was born, so like 7, right?
So, I mean, did you get started on like the
First
Pokemon
one
and
was
stuff?
Pokemon. Yeah,
Yeah.
first one was Pokemon, right? But I didn't know what anime is, especially back then.
Mhm.
Like, you know, but my first one was actually Outlaw Star. Was my first anime. And I remember looking at this, and there was a naked girl in a suitcase, and you know, I was like 8, so I'm like, ooh, and I kept watching it, but man, it was like, you know, it wasn't Bionicles, that was for sure. Like, you know, they bringing out guns, they're, you know, shooting each other, they're, you know, big robot machines fighting each other, arms coming out of a giant ship that, you know, rips another hull apart. And you see bodies flying out into space that suffocate, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like it was violent. I mean, I didn't understand it as a kid and I didn't know what I was watching, but to me it looked like another cartoon, right? You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't real, it was animated. Um, but I mean, like that was probably my first one. And then as I kept getting older, like I kept watching it. I kept watching Dragon Ball, Rurouni Kenshin, Cowboy Bebop, all those animes, and like they would have like the Japanese intro songs,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, what the why is this intro like this, right? Until I got to maybe when I was higher middle school, right, 14 years old. I stopped watching it, but then I remembered. I'm like, I remember watching this show as a kid. I kind of want to watch it again, and I did, and that's when I kind of started looking up, like what anime was and how many of them there were.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you could go back to the days where you forget all the stuff that you watched, and so you can rewatch them again,
Right.
And like, I mean, the first one I watched full anime from episode 1 to End of the Peak was Shaman King.
Shaman. I don't know that
What?
one. Did you watch? Are you a watch in Japanese with English subtitles, or
Back
you
when I started, it
understand-
was English dub, so it was
Yeah.
English speakers. And then now, pretty much, it's so hard to watch an anime English speaking. I have to watch it with Japanese and English subtitles.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But that was pretty much
Interesting.
my introduction. I mean, it would take me. Oh my god! I mean, the amount of animes I've watched have to have reached past like.
So what took you over from the normal cartoons to liking the anime ones more? Was it the just overall more adult nature, the violence, the like what you're talking
I mean, again, I
about?
like
Lost
the art
Art, or-
style. Like the stories were like super cool. One things I didn't like about cartoons is that there wasn't really a plot. It's just each cartoon was kind of mindlessly going through its task to teach its viewers a certain lesson,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
But
there's
no,
definitely
like,
a lot of that with American cartoons where it was a lot of it was episode based. We're like, okay, episode today, and then tomorrow is a completely different one. That if you didn't see yesterday's episode, you'll be able to figure out what's happening. You'll be able to follow or whatever. There was only a few that did have a giant underlying storyline that was progressing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys are. This is. I'm sure.
For you.
No. I'm just struggling to relate. So like, I'll just put it into perspective. Like I am the furthest say that I dived off the deep end into like actual real anime that was. I mean, like I said, Cowboy Bebop, Inuyasha. I mean, those ones are pretty tame, as far as anime goes. I knew I was going to do that once this episode. I knew I was going to say anime instead of anime. Damn it, I did it.
Nani?
I did.
Nani?
Kill la Kill was the most intense that I got. And I'll be completely honest with you. Okay, the only reason that I watched it was because one of the main characters looks just like Elise from League of Legends.
Oh my god!
I mean, she's not a spider in the anime, but she's wearing that suit.
Are you talking about the main girl?
That suit, bro. The black.
We know that's
black and the
only reason you
red.
watch that.
The black and the red.
Woo!
Yeah, and then but see, those are the type of animes where like you're like, okay, cool. She's got this badass sword thing. She's gonna go whoop some ass, and then a shirt eats her and just tightens up in all the right crevices.
Well, that is the
And
one thing.
there's
Regardless of what
suspenders
you
where
think
nipples-
of anime as a whole, it has done amazing work for the cosplay world.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh yes, sir.
that's true.
Yes, sir.
But I don't know. So Jack, you like Cowboy Bebop. What
Yes.
aspects of Cowboy Bebop made you like that you found only in that you didn't really find in other animes to get into others?
I mean, yeah, the music first of all. The music's very relatable. it's very down to earth and kind of catches you off guard because you're like, wait, what? This isn't like some crazy, electronic Final Fantasy sounding theme song.
Yeah.
And that's first of all, and then secondly, I mean, the character, it's a very, very it's easy to follow. It's a couple plot lines woven together, with some good surprises and a good hook and all of that. And the characters are very, very relatable. You can latch onto them. You can watch them and their character arcs as it grows. I mean, it's very easy to get into and follow. You know what I mean? It's not something that you're just like, oh, okay, so what's going on? Wait, who is this person again? What do they have a relation? Why did they say that? Why out of nowhere did they just
NANI?
Well,
I just don't know.
I mean, I understand what you're saying here because I mean, I do feel that's the same reason that I haven't dove deeper into the anime world. Is because you do have a lot of these animes that throw in crazy, ridiculous creatures and monsters, and like Cowboy Bebop was a very just simple. You got space cowboys, so it did have that kind of realistic feel while also being sci-fi, like very much a like what was the kind of like Star Wars or something of that nature that even if it did have some weird looking creatures, things weren't stretched out so far that it was ridiculous. And that's where I feel like I just watched One Punch Man, and
Hell yeah.
that one had so many ridiculous creatures that it was just like every episode there was like 5 or 6 different guys that were just out of this world ridiculous looking like monsters. That it was crazy, but at the same time, like I feel like that show, like it was so entertaining to me that I fell in love with the main character and his storyline, that it was one of those that I didn't mind having just the ridiculousness of everything. But I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, that was why, I mean, I literally have a list of maybe 10 animes that I really, really like and that I watched maybe more than once. And, Cowboy Bebop is on that list just because it just did such a good job of just, I mean, it could, like, I wouldn't want to say that it could be easily done as a live action, because I think whoever tries picking that up has a huge, huge thing to carry, But it, I mean, like the storyline would make sense in a live action compared to like some of these other ones that would just be almost impossible to ever turn into a live action.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there's a lot of people that aren't optimistic for it, but I'm very, very optimistic for the live action. I mean, I'm optimistic for it because I'm not one to like trash something before it happens for the most part, but also I'm just excited for more Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you're not looking at Cowboy Bebop going like, wow, can they do what they need to do with CGI to pull this off? Like we're not once thinking about that when it comes to CGI. We're going, can they pull off the characters and give us that same feel that we had when we were watching it? Whereas, like, if I were talking about some of these other ones, like, I mean, one of the reasons that Dragon Ball Z is like constantly fails, like they're not pulling it off with these like crazy characters and monsters and really giving us the feel of this insane fighting that goes on in Dragon Ball Z compared to in Cowboy Bebop. It's, I mean, we had movies like Wanted, with guns that, cool gun moves and stuff like that. And those movies came out in like the early 2000s. So it's like now is what we're able to do with, guns and following bullets and those kind of things. They could do that incredibly well. It's how well can you pull off a character that while standing still and lighting a cigarette said more than what most cartoons could do in 30 minutes.
Right.
Like, Spike was just a story just in himself looking at him.
That's true.
Yeah. Agreed.
Why is everybody trashing on it then?
On Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
because it's mainstream and people want to rag on something that other people like to make themselves feel different. I don't fucking know.
I think that would be the best excuse for it. It's just everybody likes that one.
People rag on stuff like Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. You know, they're all well above 600 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, nah, they suck. Well, they're doing something right.
Right.
No, it's because people like everybody else likes it. So they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to like it if everybody else like it. Yeah. And then that just creates a domino effect of people saying the same thing until something else gets that effect. I mean, look at Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online was never meant to be mainstream, right? That, you know, and then it becomes one of the most popular animes. You know, you go to Spencer's, you go to Hot Topic, you'll find all kinds of Sword Art Online shit there.
Yeah. What's a Sword Art Online?
Sword Art Online.
Oh, Sword Art Online. Okay.
Yeah, get out of here, M&A.
I'm just checking because you kept saying it, so I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
I still got my baby talk.
Baby teeth.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you guys ever watch One Piece, you know, One Piece is a super cool anime. You know, it's a comic book stylized pirate anime that has hardly anything to do with pirates. It's pretty much people beating the crap out of each other. And then you got, you know, Bleach, which I think you've seen Bleach before, right, Jack?
Bleach, yeah, part of it. I haven't watched the whole thing.
So that one had a cool storyline. You know, it took a while to ramp up, but I mean, like, you know, you got all these kind of different, you know, katanas that transform into, you know, these badass versions of katanas, which transform even into more badass versions of their previous badass versions. And then, you know, Naruto, you know, everybody's favorite, you know, ninja run, right? I ninja ran in college. Everybody ninja runs in college.
I mean, I think it's very possible that it's just you.
Oh, okay. But I mean,
it wasn't just him, because we all know someone else that ran like that.
That's true.
There's always that one person,
who
runs like that. I just happen to be in most of them. But I mean, yeah, like there's no reason to rag on them. They're doing something right. They have a lot of plot. You know, each episode, again, they can have Dragon Ball syndrome where, you know, it can take a couple episodes during a fight to get to like a main plot, but that's only because, you know, fillers and, you know, trying to get through characters' backstories, because anime introduce a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And each one of those characters, they give a specific backstory to that character, right? Hardly ever, you know, yeah, there's going to be people in the background, but whenever somebody has like a talking role, they're either part of that episode or they're going to be introduced later on into the anime. Right? Yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of backgrounds who each have their own individual stories, and, you know, the writers will get to all their stories.
So who was it that did Castlevania? Like
what do you mean, like the
like if it wasn't Japanese animation, like what
I got chives on that. Frederator Studios and Powerhouse Animation Studios. The show's art style was based off Ayumi Kojima.
Who's that?
The person who did the art style for Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
The guy who made it is the guy. Country of The guy who made it is Warren Ellis. He's the writer.
Written.
Right.
Yeah,
written. The writer.
United States origin.
He's the creator.
Yeah. I mean, to me, though, like the whole time watching it, like if I had to place money betting on whether or not it was a anime, I would say the only thing that may have not given it away as being an anime is the fact that they didn't use like your traditional anime voices. You know, I mean, like you had a dwarf playing a guy. You had what was it? There was that one vampire that was Peter Stormare.
Like God,
the Viking. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know, they had like different things like that you don't typically find. That was like the only separation from me. Because like I said, like artistically, it was very similar. The other thing is, and this could just be a stereotype thing that I mean, 'cause like I said, I'm not as deep into that world, especially like I used to. Was just like sometimes with the animes when they take this weird childish turn at too many points. Where like Castlevania stayed serious and dark throughout most of it, where you didn't have like someone sleeping and then all of a sudden they have this giant bubble coming out of their nose, or they get surprised and like their eyes turn to like stars or whatever. Like I see that kind of stuff in even dark and serious animes, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like it's taking me out of my element that Castlevania didn't do for me, and that was one of the reasons that I really really enjoyed it. But I don't know why. Like if that's just something that anime feels like it's like one of their calling cards that, hey, we have to do this kind of stuff, or is that's just the way that they like doing things. They've been doing things like that for ages, so they're just going to continue doing things that way. I just know for me that personally, if I ever see a character sleep and a big snot bubble comes out of his nose, I'm just like, this is so weird. Like, why is this even like, I've never seen a human in my entire life do something
a lot of
like
that stuff is based on like Japanese folklore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's what it is. It's just a tradition that's been there for ages, so they continue to do it. But at the same time, like, if it would have done that in Castlevania, I would have been like, all right, this is like, what happened here? Like, I just watched some dude get his like, stomach and guts ripped out, like, and then you're showing me this. Like, I don't get it.
You know what anime does well? This is also going to like Castlevania and Avatar. Mm-hmm. They know how to build up to a scene, right? And then like when that scene happens, you can't help but like get up and start pounding your knees with your fists. Like when Trevor fights oh my god. Oh my god. Tell me out, Jack. Alucard, sorry.
Oh, Alucard. Yeah.
Yeah. When he fights Alucard, in the crypt for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that's like, Trevor, I was like, is this really how they're going to play it? A Belmont, like, wearing this big fuzzy cape for the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a giant hunchback. Mm-hmm. And then, when he takes off that cape and then pulls out his whip and then starts, doing all those insane, crazy moves with it, fighting Alucard, one-on-one, it gets your attention.
Oh yeah. That,
and then like even when because like when he finds the Morning Star, right?
Yeah.
Because like that's a signature Castlevanian weapon, and you're like, maybe it's not going to be in this, and then pulls it out, even though it's not as cool as some of the other ones. But
so using Castlevania as a reference though for our discussion on what is anime and what isn't, just to give you some perspective on what other people are saying. So there's a post on Crunchyroll's forum. Somebody posted, "Is Castlevania an anime?" And then the poster OP says, the new popular Netflix show Castlevania is out, but people are confused whether or not it's an anime. I personally think it's not, because it doesn't look like an anime and it looks more like an American comic book, right? So that's this person's take on it. A lot of other people are saying, "Who gives a fuck? It's good." So we're going to keep watching it, which is
Has
funny.
that guy ever seen an anime though?
That's the thing though. Like if you go and look up, the inspiration behind Castlevania's artwork, it's based off the artwork on a video game prior to its creation, using the same characters. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at the video game cover art created and drawn by a Japanese man, Alucard literally matches that to a T.
Yeah.
Right. So that's that was based off a Japanese art style. I would consider an anime 100%.
Right, and then somebody else says, so people think anime is a style, and others think that it's the origin of the animation, right? But in Japan, everything is an anime since it's just short for animation. So
yeah,
and that's where we need to stop thinking that too. Like it's correct. Like if someone in America wanted to become a manga writer, artist, or an anime artist or writer, right? Mm-hmm. It's not gonna be like, oh well, I'm drawing Japanese anime in America. Like, no, it's his own brand of anime. Yeah. It's just anime, right? It's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being both, where it's like, yeah, if you're talking about anime as Japanese animation, then it's that's one way to describe it. But at the same time, like like words are used to describe things to do things in a very short way. Like if I say anime, immediately pictures pop in your head. You go, oh, I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Where if I was like, okay, so this one is an American style cartoon. You're like Simpsons? No. Like Family Guy? Like South Park? What are you talking about? It's like, no, it's more like an anime. You're like, oh, yes, I get you. I understand what you're saying now. Because
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
one doesn't
There's a-
trend in the fashion that most American art styles go. Like I wouldn't think that. I mean, and like I said, maybe I'm just biased or whatever, but I just don't feel that way. Like
yeah,
to
to me,
it
there's a
had that
big
feel.
line between cartoon and anime.
Yeah,
Obviously, I feel anime will have more suggestive themes, violent themes, more adult themes, right? Whereas, there are cartoons that have that, Family Guy, Futurama, for instance, but then there's also anime that, are made for kids,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And like again, like, but the way it's stylized is where I feel anime and cartoon differs.
Okay. That's interesting. So, I mean, but you can still, I don't know. See, I think we're getting back to the point where we're declassifying a cartoon from an anime if based on the style rather than just calling it like animation. I think I like it being like, you can call it an anime, but if you say like, well, what kind of style is it? Or what does it look like? Is it more like cartoon or is it more like anime? And then like what Josh said, and then you're like, well, it's like a little bit like, it's like this cartoon, but like a little bit more anime. You're going to go, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There needs to be some kind, because like, again, it's like, you can't like, oh, dude, have you seen the new Castlevania animation? Like which Castlevania animation? The anime one or the non-anime one?
I mean,
right?
personally, I'm just going to say, have you seen Castlevania?
And then we're going to be like, which one? The anime one or the non-anime one?
And I'm going to be like, the only one there is, you fool.
Oh, the non-anime one. Nani?
NANI?
So here's the real question.
yeah.
Let's get into the real brass tacks, the real meat and potatoes. All right, the real meat and potatoes of this. Have you guys seen any hentai lately?
Hell yeah.
Nothing.
Did you say hell yeah? Did you say hell yeah? He said hell yeah. I have a confession to make.
What is it, Jack? Tell me.
He's gonna go and say that he's never seen it. I'm calling it now. He's gonna say that he's never seen it.
No, I have never seen hentai.
No. And then
I
you
knew
run
it.
into his closet and just DVDs upon DVDs of like, it's the only thing I can get off on anymore.
No, I've never, not even once.
I mean, you've had to have at least seen a picture, a GIF.
I mean,
a
okay.
GIF.
First of all, we will throw hands right now. We're about to have an anime style battle up in this bitch, right?
Oh my God. I'm just waiting to see it. Like just this massive desert with like canyons everywhere. And just Jack and Josh are just, on the front lines. Jack's just sitting there, wrapping bandages around his fists while Josh is just waiting there with his sword ready.
It's Jack and Gosh.
Gosh.
And then just Josh and Jack. And as, they just stare at each other for a few moments, right? And then like the wind blows. And then just really quick, you guys just run past each other. And then you both fall.
No, so here's where we need to classify on this. Because I can understand if you have never downloaded a hentai and watched a full 30-minute episode, or you've never like
wait, they come they come in episodes?
Aren't there like full shows?
Jack, there's full on plots, bro.
Yeah, there's like full
God.
like 100 episode shows that it's. I mean, because that's the thing. I think that you have some that are probably fairly softcore type stuff with just adult themes, and then you have some that are just like, what the fuck am I even? These are just colors flashing, but
that's where the memes of tentacles come.
Yeah, because I mean, but like I said, I mean, like even if you're browsing like a popular site like YouPorn or Pornhub or whatever, even in like the popular section or newly featured section, there's going to be a video that pops up that's going to at least have a preview, a 10-second clip. So are you telling me that you've never, like, what's the limit when you say I've never seen it? You've seen a naked cartoon chick, right?
I
A
mean,
picture of one.
that's silly. Like you can open up Twitter and like you can see one of those, or
Exactly. So don't
you
go
know,
like, I haven't
like
ever seen
roll 34 League of Legends.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that's not that. But I'm saying I'm talking hentai. I'm talking of a video, a movie, an episode, as it were.
But, so you're saying I haven't actually sat down to watch a full episode of it. Yeah, that's
Not even by accident.
Well, it'd be kind of hard to do by accident because you're generally having to like type in a search bar unless someone's like sending you stuff. I don't know, but
I just mean like even by like, oh, what is this? It's a clip of something, and then being like, oh, I see, this is a clip of this. I haven't.
Not even out of like curiosity, because
No.
I have watched some terrible, ridiculous, insane, and amazing things out of curiosity.
No.
I mean, like, you should see what comes up in my recommendation slots is the most bizarre stuff. I had one the other day that it was someone dressed in one of those T-Rex costumes riding around on a hoverboard. I was like,
I've seen that one.
Right? It's like that, because you see something like that, it pops up. You're like, what is this? I got to watch it. Now, like,
that's so funny.
And I mean, I can't vouch for Luch or anything, but like hentai is not something that I go searching out and going like, ooh, this is what I'm looking for tonight or anything. But at the same time, like, if it's out there, I've attempted to watch it, like, because I want to know every.
Nah, bro, I categorize that shit chronologically.
All right, so then maybe you can help answer some questions for us then. Since you're the resident expert in this. Where do I even begin? Jack, where do we begin?
I don't know.
So to you, Luch, are you more in the Jack category? Are you more in the my category? Or are you more like, this is something that like...
It's my own category. Hell, I got my own category page, bro.
Okay. And so, but, because see, what's always kind of, like, because that's the thing. I agree with Jack. Like, Elise, Ari from League of Legends, stuff like that. I find cartoon characters, there are some that are just smoking hot. Mm-hmm. And that's completely understandable. But once something goes to, like, why do they have to do, like, an Elise then getting gangbanged by a bunch of trees? It's like, okay. Like, oh my god. It's like, why did it have to take that turn or whatever? Like, whatever it may be. It's like, I've seen that picture. It's like, are they not like going out to dinner and having a nice romantic time? And then
again, man, like a lot of this stuff, like it's all fan created. So, it's their fucked up minds that's, creating this shit, and they're posting it on the internet for people to see. Like,
I know, it just seems to be more
that
time.
Type of thing is that is more psychological than, that stuff is, that's like their taste type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's just been always the thing that's just kind of been weird to me. It's just like, if it's like, if there were scenes, or like even when we watched Love, Sex, and Robots, there were scenes with like naked cartoon chicks. And I don't think that, there was even, I guess it was more of a CGI one where the characters had sex. I'm trying to remember all the different ones, but like, like if even in Castlevania, like if they started to have a sex scene or whatever, that's perfectly fine. Like that would be, fairly normal. Yes, they aren't live action or whatever, but it's not getting to the point of being weird. But then you could easily see where, like, then if some like half bat creature like started sprouting things and shoving them in all kinds of orifices, it's like, okay, Like that to me is where it's like, not really in the mood for that.
Right.
You know?
Again, like it's a lot of it's fan made, so like it's whatever they were feeling, I guess.
Okay,
My
so
question is,
here. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, my question is, at what point, does the whole like, waifu and, body pillow,
Okay,
anime
that
girlfriend kind of thing, where does it cross over where you're like, all you're attracted to is cartoons?
that's called otaku culture,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So
Please
like
please inform us.
from my knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue in Japan where I think they're called neets, right? They're pretty much people who never leave their house, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are guys, girls, whoever who collect, beyond a normal collection, the body pillows, the mouse pads, right? All kinds of stuff. And like that's like, and then you have like your waifus, you pick your anime
Mm-hmm.
wives or whatever.
Is it waifu or waifu?
It's like saying wife in Japanese, right?
Okay.
So like a Japanese person trying to say wife.
So waifu?
It's pretty.
Okay. That was pretty stereotypical.
Interesting.
Sorry.
I mean, that's just like what.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so I can understand a lot of that because
honestly don't
growing
know
up,
if
like
waifu
I
is an
had
American thing.
celebrity crushes. I was madly in love with the Pink Power Ranger. Like Kimberly, I thought that she was gorgeous when I was like 8 and 9 years old. Like, oh my goodness, Pink Power Ranger, she's the hottest thing ever. Like, I thought she was the coolest thing. And but then of course I got older, and there wasn't that progression there. I kind of grew out of it, but
Mhm.
it was also like it didn't get immersed into Power Rangers the same way that I could see other kids today getting immersed into a 600 episode anime, where you really do get more of a background on these characters. You learn more, you see more, you feel like you know them. I mean, like, I'm telling you, I feel like I know Goku and Vegeta. Like, I could sit down at the table with those guys. Like, I've seen so many freaking episodes of that show that like I love them when they do little things in the show, like just like with Spike, that it's like, oh, that's such a Goku thing to do. He's so silly. Like, because you start like feeling that attachment towards them just as people. I mean, I get that way even with like live action shows. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like the characters on that show, like I feel like I'm friends with them because I've seen them so much that I could understand where people could kind of make that progression, especially if their path takes a more solitude direction than what ours did. Where we started getting out more. You started a band, or going
Right.
to college and kind of having to step away from these things that eventually you have to face real life, and you have to kind of give that stuff up. But if you never get to that point where you have to face real life, I could see where you could fall down that, especially if you're not gifted in the looks area. That it's like, all right, my choices in the outside world are that, fuck that, this cartoon chick's hot and she likes me. Like, I'm sticking with that.
See, like again, that goes down to personal taste.
Yeah.
Right? Like whether it's healthy or not, it's the person's choice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just know that for Christmas I'm getting Jack a Trevor Belmont body pillow.
Nah, bro, he wants that cipher.
Now, he's doing it to be ironic, of course. Because
no. Sorry. We want that Kill a Kill.
Okay.
Body pillow and mouse pad combo.
Yeah. That's
How would Nicole feel coming
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
I think she would kind of laugh it off and shrug it off at first, right? Like,
I don't know.
Obvious joke is obvious, right? Right, Jay?
Yeah,
Maybe,
right,
maybe.
right,
I
right.
love the turtle.
All right, so my big question then would be for Luch, taking steps out of this crazy world of hentai and back into the anime stuff. What you seem to be more in the know than Jack and I. So what do we have to look forward to? Is there something new coming out? Is there something being transitioned to movie like with Cowboy Bebop that you've heard of, or anything interesting that's out there?
Not nothing on the radar right now, other than another, like Studio Ghibli movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever watch those? Those animations are beautiful. You guys have probably seen like, Totoro or like Spirited Away,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah, have you guys both seen those?
Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke,
Yeah.
great one. Castle in the Sky, Howl's Moving Castle, things like that. Those good enough to be adopted by Disney, right?
Ghost in the
Yeah,
Shell live action.
That was a couple of years ago, though, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But nothing on the radar right now, as far as I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there, anime is it's just one of those things that's always, expanding.
Yeah.
And there's, every year there's bound to be something, coming out.
Yeah.
And they're starting to remake some of the old ones, which need a little bit of love, which I'm happy.
Well, I mean, that was one of my favorite things about watching Dragon Ball Super right now is, growing up, I was kind of in the era of Dragon Ball Z. Like when I first started watching, it was like Goku fighting Vegeta, for the first time. Vegeta had his tail and his little scouter on and all this kind of stuff. And now here we are with Dragon Ball Super. I'm 34 years old. I have a 7 and a 9-year-old, and my kids are watching it with me. And Dragon Ball Super is showing a lot of love back to the old Dragon Ball Z fans, like bringing back old characters that had gotten surpassed in power so indefinitely that they couldn't even write them in the storyline anymore because they were just so freaking weak, that they're bringing things like that back, and it's making it really, really fun. Also the update on the animation compared to what it used to be, and different things like that I have so deeply enjoyed it. And it's so weird because, like, even just now, like if I'm like, oh, what do I want to watch? Like, it's not the first thing that pops into my head, but then it's, there'll be a night where me and the boys will watch like an episode or two. And as I'm watching it, I feel myself sitting there smiling the whole time, just enjoying it. Cause it's like, it brings back all these good, fun memories while also creating something new. And I really, really, really like that idea.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, as far as Cowboy Bebop is definitely, I think, a very cool idea for doing a live action. I think it's one of those that's more doable even than a Dragon Ball Z, just because you're not dealing with the insane CGI fight scenes that you would get from Dragon Ball, which I feel like is sometimes just, I don't know,
Over
like
the
too hard
top.
to just, yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, it kind of like, when we watch Aquaman and you're watching like this giant underwater fight scene between like these, and that everything is CGI. It's like, you throw in some real life stuff here and there. Like, and that's what I feel like Cowboy Bebop is going to be able to do if they do it right. Being able to use some real background, some real sets to have fun with. Is there any other thing anime wise that you would like to see brought to live action at some point?
Castlevania.
Yeah, I agree. I think I enjoyed that show so, like, I binge watched it in like 2 days while having to edit pictures and everything. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I had so much fun with it. I was not expecting it to be that good.
I think that there's a lot of, especially the older animes, like things like Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, those kind of cyberpunk
Yeah,
space animes. Those all would make great live action.
I
Ghost
agree.
in
I
the
like
Shell,
that idea.
because they're so inventive and so creative that like the world is just crazy. Like Akira, you guys seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just imagine seeing that live action, like that part at the ends. Jesus. Things like Psychopaths. Have you guys heard of that anime?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
So, quick synopsis. It's all about like uh, psychosis, right? So, pretty much in the world, the crime rates are down because they have this system that's around the world that looks at a person's psyche, and if they're past a certain limit, they're apprehended by the police and then taken away to a facility.
Yikes.
So kind of
Right.
like they're predicting crime based on
Yeah,
okay,
based
Minority
on
Report.
the anime.
yeah, like on their insanity level type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then and if they're past 100, they get chased by the department that tracks them down and takes them away. But if they go past 300, they're instantly terminated.
Ooh.
And they have these special guns. I forget what they're called. I think demolishers or something like that.
Mhm.
If they're past 100, the demolishers stun them. But if they're past 300, it turns into insta-kill mode. The gun transforms and shoots them with this pulse blast that immediately inflates their body, causing them to explode.
Interesting. But yeah, they already did that one. That was Minority Report. So you got to pick a different one.
Yeah, different.
It
No,
came
no.
out before my report.
No, here's my
I
question.
like the idea of like the cyberpunk kind of style. I think that is, especially with that. But I don't know. I think that I would like a cyberpunk movie like the little trailer that we got for the game. Like I would really, really like to see more video game cinematics turned into full-length movies. The fact that League of Legends has kept their cinematics so short is cruel and unjust. Like their stuff is so like I sit there and I'll watch the whole 5-minute video with my jaw on the floor, like just blown away at how beautiful and awesome all the characters look and the way that they're, because I mean, like their spells in the game and the way that they're doing their moves, it's very, video game like, but they're able to carry it over to the cinematic super, super good where you're like, oh, he's doing that move. Like even that kind of stuff is just, it's so good that I would kill to have a full length, cinematic of League of Legends or, I want to see more from World of Warcraft or Warcraft in general, but that's just me.
I think within the next 5 years, I hope we see movies starting to become more of those CGI style. Because again, like there's some things that real, action films can't do that CGI can.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like once it gets easier to do the CGI type stuff, that we may start seeing some more of it. I think like especially in the beginning, if we probably looked up all the information on what it took to make the that Final Fantasy movie that came back in the day, that it was like the graphics at that point were blowing everybody away. When did that one come out? Do you guys know which one I'm talking about?
I remember which one. It was like, it was 90s, right? Like 96, 97?
I think it said it was I think it says it was 2001. 2001.
Really?
Is when that one came out. Yeah. I mean, but that's right there with it. But like that one at that time, like these guys had to work so hard because like no one had done anything like that before.
Yeah.
And like now we're starting to get like more and more people are doing this. You have people like, you and I could be sitting here at our desk in our room creating these kind of things. Like people are getting that good.
Titan AE? Titan AE came out around that time.
Oh, I remember Titan AE. That's same people who made Anastasia, right?
Yeah.
Anastasia?
Because I think the guy was literally modeled after Dimitri.
Anastasia had Matt Damon, Drew Barrymore. I love me some Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
No, so Luch, if you had to recommend one anime to somebody who has never seen anime before.
Oh, okay.
Right? For all of our listeners that have made it an hour through this episode and are still like, I have no idea what the hell's going on. To you, I say.
NANI?
Oh,
But
Uh,
if you had to recommend one to those people, to that crowd, what would you recommend?
so it would have to be a short one.
Yeah.
Right. So anime has anything ranging from 3 episodes, 12 episodes, 24 episodes, 52, all the way up. Right.
Right.
So I think a good 12 or 24 one would be good. So Cowboy Bebop would be an excellent one. It would also depend on what their tastes are.
But how do you know until you actually like watch one?
Again, so you kind of also, because everybody will eventually have like their favorite style, right? Of type of anime they watch.
mhm.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are some that are more colorful and bubbly. And things like, Cowboy Bebop, which are more comic book styled, Outlaw Star, which is more rugged. But an anime to start out on, I would say, would probably be the movies.
The movies?
To watch a movie, Studio Ghibli movie.
Okay. Which one?
I would say Spirited Away would probably be.
I would say Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke is a great one,
Mhm.
but again, you also don't want to kind of put. This was just my idea to kind of ease maybe their way into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Princess Mononoke had a lot to do with Japanese spirits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or Spirited Away had those, but they didn't go much into
Sure.
the way of it.
I got you.
right? But the movies would probably be the best way to go about it,
Mhm.
only because they're so well known. Their production quality is great. They had a huge budget. And then you can kind of go from there, right?
Yeah. Well, so I had a question that I had wanted to ask at some point during this episode, and now's a good a time as any. So in animes, they will have a few episodes that they call an OVA.
Mhm.
What is that?
Just a special episode.
Because that was my introduction to Rurouni Kenshin. Was there, I believe, was 6 OVA episodes, and
Mhm.
the style of the anime was a little bit different. The storyline from it was different, but that was my whole introduction into it. And when I watched that, I was blown away. Like the 6 episode Rurouni Kenshin OVAs were incredible. When I went to watch the actual show, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much because
Are you talking about the remake OVAs?
I don't know. We're
The
talking
updated art style?
15 years ago.
OVA is whenever it's made specifically for release all on its own. It's an original, stands for original video animation.
Yeah, they're made they're not based on the
standalone.
manga.
They're
Most
standalone.
anime, based on a manga. They're special episodes.
Okay. So yeah, so with me, I mean, that would be if I had to recommend something like that, some of the OVAs for different shows were what I really enjoyed, because they were almost like extended movies. They were just short versions of things. But like I said, I mean, one of the things though that almost hurt me with Rurouni Kenshin was the fact that I loved the OVAs so much that when I started watching the actual cartoon, it was, like I said, the anime was styled a little bit differently. It was a little bit more kiddie than I mean, the OVA for Rurouni was really dark and brutal and bloody, and it was fun. I really, really enjoyed that. That I didn't get that same kind of feeling from the other. But it was something I was curious. I was going to look it up when we were talking about it, and I was like, should ask our resident expert on the situations.
Yeah, so the OVA was an updated art style from the anime.
Mm-hmm.
So the anime, you can kind of see as it progresses later on, how the art style changes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it had its own name too.
My recommendation for anime to watch is Kill la Kill. It's on Netflix. Go watch it.
Oh my god! Okay, guys,
Just kidding. Don't do that.
people will run.
Never watches anime again.
Well, that's the thing though. But if someone's wanting to watch an anime, it's do you dip your toes in, or do you just go? I mean, like at this point, you have to kind of, at least if you haven't seen it,
So
you have an
have
idea
to
of
find
what anime is. Do you just go, fuck it, we're going hardcore.
No,
Let's go in. I
hopefully
want
not.
some weird ass
No.
like anime stuff.
you have to find your
Yeah,
style.
hopefully you don't do that because it's like beer, right? You give somebody beer without telling them, like bracing them for like, look, beer's an acquired taste that you have to like learn to like,
Mm,
and
okay.
and then you hand it to them, and then they're just like, oh god, and then they never want to drink beer again. That would be like throwing them into Kill la Kill.
I could see that. So, Jack, have you seen One Punch Man?
No.
He needs to.
Yeah, it's one season. This is my recommendation just because I just recently saw it. It's on Netflix, and I had such a blast with it. Like I didn't think that I was gonna like, because I've constantly seen like the memes of it. I've seen like even just the picture of him. He just looks like a goofy little goober.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this guy? Like, what is this all about? But you start getting to know him more, and the suffering that he's dealing with and everything, and it gets so good, and the fights of it, just there's so much ridiculous anime stuff with it, but at the same time, like I literally finished Castlevania last week since the podcast, and watched One Punch Man like right after it, and I loved them both. Like I didn't like Castlevania being as good as it was, didn't like ruin the taste of watching this other one.
Yeah.
That's how like good it is. Like it, I don't know, I had fun with it. Cool. So that's my recommendation.
I will take it into consideration and advisement, sir.
Yeah.
You can hear the sincerity.
Anyways, Luch, do you have any final thoughts on the state of anime in today's society? And anything you want to tell anybody?
Or any hentai you want to recommend?
It's I feel like it's only going up from here. Again, a lot of people are starting to watch it more. There's starting to be more diversity in anime. I hope there's more American studios that come forward doing anime, especially if they're as successful as Castlevania. And that omae wo shinderu.
NANI?
Perfect. I don't know. I didn't count the nanis throughout the entire thing. We made a bet. I don't know.
Like 7.
No,
I think 7.
There's more than that.
No, I think it was 7.
We get
NANI?
we get more nanis during a standard D&D campaign.
Yeah, I know.
That is true. That is true.
But oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, nothing. I'm just going to wrap things up unless you have anything else that you wanted to add as well.
Oh, I wanted to get a recommendation for a hentai, because apparently I've been watching the wrong one.
Oh my god, we'll talk about that out of the podcast. All right.
All right. But what about our listeners who are sitting there right now on their phones?
We'll start out with some PG-rated movies to start out with. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Y'all need Jesus.
Y'all need Jesus in your life.
Whatever. You need to get out there and live a little.
Who, me?
Yes, Mr. I've never seen hentai.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have no desire to watch some.
He's watched Kill la Kill. He's seen it.
I mean, that's true. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Borderline, practically. The teacher's the best, though. Teacher's my hero in that.
Well, borderline. Anyways, if you've made it this far into this episode, congrats. You've unlocked a special achievement. You've made it all the way to the end of an episode based on anime, which means one of two things. Either you're extremely bored and left this on play while you weren't paying attention, or you actually love anime. And for both of those things, we thank you. We appreciate the listen. But that's going to do it, actually. That's going to wrap up our anime. The final boss definitely is, that weird hentai stuff that you guys like. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, man. Sorry.
Weird, man.
Can't get into it.
Yeah, how would you know if you've never seen it?
There's some things in life that you just don't need to experience in order to not like. This is one of them.
Agree to disagree. I think next time I come to Florida, I know what we're doing.
What? Anyways, all right. Now, before the podcast devolves into chaos, we want to thank you for listening and making it this far. And from all of us at the Bonus Level Podcast, I'll catch you next week.
Later, taters.